Hmm. All right. Hey, Amy, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great, great, great. Thank you so much for coming in and backing me up with all the stress I have going around holidays.
I don't want to back you up on encouraging you to be stressed, but definitely here to help you out.
Thank you. I think I really needed it. So, and with that, I really think there are a lot of other moms just like me who are struggling to keep up with this holidays. Yes, it's beautiful, but kids are not in school. We got to
Hmm.
work. We need to find the perfect present, and
Hmm.
all of this. And I was like, you'd be the perfect one to come and give some advice because you probably been in like the most stressful, most demanding jobs in your career, right? Like if I didn't introduce you right, like guys, Amy has worked as an amazing nanny for the rich who can afford to have a nanny, unless like us.
Yeah.
So I know the main purpose of today's podcast is I kind of want you to give some advice to moms like me to
Uh-huh.
sail through this holiday. But
Okay.
before that, I want to have some coffee chit-chatting with you, like some laughs where we can
Okay.
just the unimaginable situations. Let's hear from you. So tell us, Amy, how was it to be a nanny for a billionaire?
Um, Sometimes it's awesome. I have been super, super blessed and I don't have any of those. Well, I don't think they're horror stories, but sometimes I tell people things and they're like, oh my gosh, how do you think that's normal? But I feel like I've worked for the most amazing families I could have. I feel like every one of them has been a blessing, but some of it has been, I guess, not normal. There's been times when someone couldn't bother to pay me. So, I mean, they gave me my money, but they couldn't bother to like come down and give me money. So they would put a wad of cash, like literally a wad, like, and they would put it in the elevator in their house, mind you, and like send it down to wherever I was and just have me retrieve the money off of like the railing in the elevator. I've had families ask me to call ahead on our holiday reservations and ask the hotel to empty our private pool and refill it with fresh water so the babies had fresh water to swim in for the holidays. So I've had some interesting situations.
So the kids need water, which was not touched by anybody else.
Correct,
Okay.
because if the water was touched, I don't know. I buy it.
Well, I mean, I guess when you have money, why not? When they can do
Yeah.
it and pay for it, why not, right? I mean,
Maybe they
yeah.
were worried there were germs. This was like way pre-COVID, so it wasn't even a COVID thing, but there were like germs in the water. I don't know. I just did
You
what I was
know,
told.
now that you say that, I have a question. What
Uh-huh.
was like the most craziest thing happened during COVID in one of these houses? Anything?
Yes. My gosh. I never want to relive COVID ever again. I know nobody does, but um yeah, I had one family that was absolutely neurotic about hand washing to the point where they ended up instilling anxiety into their children, and their children, like right around their wrists, started getting like chapped and was like bleeding because they would make them wash their hands every time they came inside, every time they touched food, every time they went to the bathroom, which are the normal things. And then anytime they touched anything that had been out of the house, like if they brought a box inside, they had to wash their hands because they touched a box that had been delivered by Amazon. So the poor kids were like, their hands were literally chapped and bleeding because they had washed them so much. And so there were a lot of extreme precautions in the same vein.
Nice, nice. I mean, yeah, I mean, I was a little paranoid, but I don't think I took that crazy, like yeah, wash your hands, sanitize it. Yeah. Okay. 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 So, I'm gonna divert this conversation a little bit. Like,
Okay.
tell me, tell me one advice for parents who are really struggling. I feel like a lot of parents get very, very, very overwhelmed with so many toys on the shelf, so many things. Like, I haven't bought any presents yet for my daughter.
Oh my gosh, that gives me anxiety.
And I'm shit, it's next week. What's happening? Why am I not ready for this? And I'm not. I'm just not ready because I just feel I don't have the time to go in. So, what is your one advice for parents who are struggling like me, myself?
Well, my ultimate piece of advice is don't buy any toys at all. But that's so hard for most people. Like when we do presents for our kids, almost exclusively we do experiences. So if it's possible to do an experience, it feels easier to me, in my opinion, because you find the experience or you see something super cool on Instagram, you book it, you don't have to go to the store, you don't have to think of whether they like it. There will be absolutely no clutter in your house whatsoever. And then you have this beautiful experience. Like this past year, we went to a giraffe sanctuary, and that was the boys' Christmas present. So we stayed in this suite that overlooked the giraffe barn, and we got to go and feed the giraffes and everything like that. So, I mean, that's my extremist piece of advice, but my realistic piece of advice is just say no more often. Like instead of stressing yourself out because, well, I don't have time to go get presents because I have to do this party and there's a class party and there's, I don't know, 9 gajillion things. Just say no to some of the things. You don't have to do it all. Your kids don't need a gajillion presents. I bet you don't remember every present you got for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great advice because I feel like the reason I, as a mother, I'm lacking is because I have all these commitments. I have 500 Christmas parties on a weekend, and on a weekday, the school tour and this, that, let's go to this live, that live, you know? So yeah, I think that's a great advice. The first advice would be to say no. Like, no, I'm not doing it. But it's so
Yeah.
hard. It's like so hard.
It is hard, but after a while, it's like empowering.
Is it?
You're like,
Yeah,
I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. Like, because I know for a fact you don't want to go to all 500 of those Christmas parties.
it's
And
exhausting.
the best thing about no, because most women, I won't say most women. I am a people pleaser, and I know a lot of people I work with are people pleasers. You don't have to have an explanation for no can be a complete sentence on its own. So you don't have to explain to somebody, no, we can't go because we have this or that, or just no, thank you. We're not going to be able to make it. That's it.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what? That's a great advice. No, and I don't need to say anything more than that. So yeah, that's a great advice for the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Tell me, I'm gonna go back to the nanny part. I'm like so
Okay.
excited to hear. Tell me, how did you get into this nanny, and how did you get into this high profile nannying job?
When I was 18 years old, I was actually recruited by a nanny placement agency, and they called me up and they were like, "Hey, we heard you're really great with kids. Would you be interested in being a nanny?" And I didn't end up working with that agency, but I thought about it, and all I wanted in the whole world was to move away from home. I was like, I'm out of here. Like, you people are crazy. I'm gone. And I could move away from home and have a job and have a place to live all in one. And from then on, it was golden. Like, it was, and I just feel like it was what I was supposed to do because I lucked into some just really, really incredible families. And then when they didn't need me anymore, they would either refer me or I got pulled into some really great nanny agencies. And I just kind of worked my way up. I got a reputation for being really awesome, and I'm very good at noticing when things need to be done before you even notice that it needs to be done. So that was probably like the attribute that families found most enticing.
Oh, sorry. Well,
No
what's
worries.
the longest? What's the longest you have been with a couple or a family?
8 years?
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
You
with
know,
them. I started literally, they brought the babies home and they were like, here you go.
here you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How does it feel? Like does it feel very overwhelming to deal with all these kids and over demanding parents? Or do you feel like, okay, I've been compensated good to like do the work they're asking me to do?
I should not ever admit this on a recording, but I'm gonna admit it. I've never met a kid that I felt like I couldn't handle, but I've definitely met some parents that I don't prefer dealing with. So it's not usually the kids, but it's if I have a problem, it's almost always something to do with working with the parents. Overwhelming, I don't think.
Okay. And did you, so people who are listening, maybe one thing you would like to prompt and say, you guys, don't ever ask your nanny to be doing this. This is just rude. Because I feel like people just ask unrealistic things.
My own personal story, this isn't don't ever ask your nanny not to do this, but my own personal story with that in particular, I had a mom tell me that the way I was dressed was tempting to her husband. And if you know anything about me, I am the least fashionable person to ever walk the face of the earth. I've gone into places in a dress and people that I see on a daily basis don't even recognize me because 100% of the time I am in jeans and a t-shirt. It gives me anxiety thinking about not wearing jeans and a t-shirt. So how this woman thought I was trying to tempt her husband is just absolutely beyond me. So maybe don't accuse your nanny of that. But never ask her to work for free ever. That's so incredibly rude. It's her job. Even if like the babies are sleeping, she can't leave. So she's still working.
Yeah.
But I've had a family that wasn't wonderful that kind of wrote a misleading contract that manipulated me into working extra hours for free. And that wasn't cool. And it didn't last very long. So just don't ask them to do that.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I on a daily basis come across at my work too, where people are just like, can you just do this? Just add it. And I'm like, will you go and work for a company for extra hour without getting paid? No. Then why would you ask me to do it? Right? Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
capable of doing it, but that doesn't mean I should do it for free.
Yeah. Hey, nothing's free. Nothing's free.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. Tell me some of the most commonly asked questions during the interviews when you go for a job like this, or when you used to.
Oh my gosh, I haven't been interviewed in so long. I know the questions I tell people to ask when they're
Okay.
when they're
Yeah, go ahead.
I tell people to ask if they are comfortable with parents working from home. Especially now, it's just really common for parents to be working from home, and a lot of nannies find it harder to work when the parents are at home because the kids just want to be with them, or the kids think that the nanny has no authority because a higher
Um,
authority is there. I always get asked about salary. I get asked about vacation time, if there's any benefits that are a make or break for me. I get asked sometime my experience, usually when by the time I actually physically go into an interview, the family has already learned quite a bit about me and they just want to know if we get along as people because it's such an intimate job because you're literally handing over your heart and the most important thing in your whole life and then trusting me with it. So once you get to the actual interview, it's just a matter of vibes. Like, does this woman seem like the type of person that I would feel comfortable handing my whole world over to?
yeah. So my other question would be, what was the best vacation you thought you went with people when they traveled?
Let's see. I think my favorite trip that I ever went on was I went to Hawaii with a family, and it wasn't a super extravagant trip, but it was just so nice. It felt like being with family. I didn't feel like the help. We were all just kind of pitching in and taking care of the kids and trading off, and it was just a really joyful, wonderful experience. I really liked it.
Yeah, I remember last year I was in Mexico and the cabanas we were in, there was a cabana next to us where these people had bought their nanny. And
Hmm.
obviously, in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, that would be so nice. And then I just gradually started noticing that this woman was just terrible to the nanny, just rude. And I, as an individual from far, I can see like this person is not nice to her. And I'm like, why would you treat somebody like that just because you have money?
Right.
Like she was so
Luckily,
particular about the kids' things. She was so particular. She's like, why did you dress her up in this? And why is she not dressed in this bathing suit? And I'm like, oh my God.
luckily, I haven't had anybody that treated me poorly. I also have boundaries, and my boundaries won't, I'm very firm with my boundaries, and my boundaries won't allow somebody to treat me poorly. So I think maybe I don't attract families who want to treat their nanny like the help because I don't allow that. So they're not going to get very far with it. More often, I have a situation where families are like, here's your baby. Good luck. See you later. And they just hand the baby and I go off. I had a situation one time where the parents I wanted to go somewhere for 4th of July and the parents had no desire to go. So the little girl and I hopped on a plane and we went on vacation for 4th of July and we left the parents at home.
That's perfect. She's like, let's go on a vacation. Yeah. And so I think that's another good advice for women or parents in general this Christmas season to set good boundaries.
Yes.
I
That's part
struggle with
of the
that.
saying no is decide what's important to you, decide the things that you really want, decide what you and your family values, and then set boundaries around those things to protect them because they're more valuable than gold.
Okay. All right.
That's
It is. And I have another question for you.
uh-huh.
With Christmas coming up, obviously we are like buy presents for kids. Now that you said experiences, which I think I lean towards that too. I think my daughter really enjoys holidays and going on trips, so we always do one of those too. Uh, but what about partners? How do you navigate that? Do you have any suggestions from being a good mom? How can we also navigate the challenge of being a good partner? Any presents idea? Because moments are just difficult to buy anything.
I mean, I I cannot say what every man wants, and I don't know what every marriage dynamic is like. But if you have a good, healthy marriage, then your husband probably wants you. Honestly, that's probably, and I'm not trying to be like, ooh, sexy. Not even that. Just doing something with you might be the thing that your husband wants the most. It's your husband is your first child. Some people don't like to hear that, but like they are. Before you have children, your mother in law handed over her child and was like, here, now you have a child. He's grown, but he's your child.
Yes,
And then once you have actual children, your marriage kind of a lot of times takes a back burner because technically they are grown men and they are self sufficient. So, most of the time, when I have families call me that have kind of cracks in the foundation and things kind of are getting a little crazy and hectic, the number one thing that I can tell them to help their kids' behavior and their marriage is to connect with their spouse more. So, even teeny tiny bits of, we call them micro connections or micro dates. And then for Christmas, your spouse might want a trip. They might want you to plan a way for them to just spend a weekend with you if that's possible, or make a packet full of, okay, here's a date night for every month of the year, or something that means that they get more of you, even though you don't have more of you to give.
that makes so much sense.
Super small things like building up to Christmas. You can, for instance, we wrote our own wedding vows. So you could, after the kids go to bed, lay in bed and read each other your wedding vows. And you don't have to go anywhere. It's not expensive. It doesn't take hours to plan. You don't need a babysitter, but it is this tiny way for you guys to kind of reconnect after the hustle.
That's great. That obviously there are a lot of people who have really bad experience with like babysitters.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any pointers which you would like to share with normal moms who want to have a getaway and go out and have a date when they hire a babysitter from care.com? Care.com is one of the most commonly used platform for all these purposes, right? So if you interview somebody, what is the red flag?
If they're hard to contact,
Okay.
I would say if you're trying to hire a babysitter for just one-off events, not a nanny, but like a babysitter for date night or whatever, email them or however you contact them and say, this is my phone number. Can you send me your bio or your availability or whatever? Because you as a mom are already busy, so you don't need to file through all of these women and sitters. So if you say I'm going to say your bio so people know like their experience. Can you send me your bio via text message to this number? If they don't send you their bio, they've already eliminated themselves from the pool. They have already told you that they are not reliable, and you had to do literally nothing about it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've never thought of it like that, but it makes so much more sense because if somebody's not ready to communicate with you, how can you trust them with your children?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah.
Or maybe instead of since you already have their bio on care.com, give them your phone number and say, can you text me with the best time to call you to set up an interview? And so they know the next step is coming, but the ball is also in their court. And if you never hear from them, please do not stress about it. It means they don't want to work with you.
Yep. God, I really need a babysitter sometimes, I feel.
Just
I mean, even when I'm home, just to like, I feel very guilty that I'm always working when she doesn't have school. And my child's pretty easy. She just plays upstairs. But I also feel like maybe I need to have a babysitter so she can get entertained and played with. She's not so bored.
no, she needs to be bored. Oh my gosh, my husband, when I was telling my husband that I was doing this podcast, he was like, please go on your rant about boredom. And I was like, I don't know if I can fit that in. And he was like, please find a way to work in boredom. And you did it for me, so I didn't even have to do this. So I have a whole
I want
rant
to hear
about
about,
boredom.
yes, I want to hear about it.
Stop entertaining your kids. It is not your job. Your job is to raise them to be wonderful, loving, productive people. Your job is not to entertain them. It is so important to their developing brain for them to be bored, because nothing wonderful comes out of back-to-back soccer and ballet and full schedules. Nothing creative comes out of running from here to there and everywhere. Every time you've ever had a good, wonderful thought, you have either been driving or you've been in the shower or you have had time for your brain to be settled in order to think of something else. So when your children are bored, it allows them the freedom to be creative. It allows them to think of things that they never would have thought of. A child that's running here, there, and everywhere and has somebody entertaining them all the time isn't building this amazing Lego creation to come and show you. They're not diving into this art project and creating like the first mercat or whatever creative thing. Like, boredom was where your children will have the space to flourish. And so when you go upstairs and you sit down with your daughter, especially you, because you were an engineer, like you are very logical and you have like you have parameters that you think in. You're a grown up and you engineering is a very logical career field. So you go upstairs and you put your logic and your thought and your knowledge and all of your experience, and you put those limits on your daughter's creativity. So she doesn't have the space she needs to be as creative. And that's why you go up there and she's like, no, pretend, mom, you said this. that's not the way I wanted it to go, because you're being very logical about it and she's being very emotional and creative about it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I never, ever, ever thought of that. Oh my God. As a parent, we're like putting them in a box by helping them out. Oh my God. Like maybe we need to have a podcast, another one to talk about parenting,
About boredom. Yeah.
boredom, or just parenting, like the logical mistake which we do of keeping our kids overstimulated.
That's
Wow.
my rant. So if you do want to connect with her and if you are feeling bad, take 10 minutes or 5 minutes or even 2 minutes. Leave your phone downstairs, go upstairs, and be open to whatever it is that she's doing, to fully immerse yourself in her and what she's doing. And 2, 5, 10 minutes fully immersed is going to be exponentially more valuable than an hour where you feel obligated to be up there, but you're really thinking about the work that's downstairs.
Wow, Amy, you just like said something which just changed, I'm sure, a lot of people's parenting idea.
I hope so.
Boredom is good.
Yep. It's one of the best gifts you can give your kids. The human brain doesn't develop by constant stimulation. It develops by creating stimulation out of whatever your resources are around you.
Wow. Okay. Nice. I think for everybody who's listening to this, I'm sure there's so many more questions. And I'm going to request again, Amy, if she could come back on another episode to talk about parenting. But, I have one last question about the topic we were talking about today.
Huh?
So if somebody is looking to do nanny, what do you think? What do you think is a realistic expectation of pay?
I would say no one should, especially right now, never pay your nanny less than $20 an hour. And there's going to be nannies that come at me for saying that. But some people consider a nanny to be like there is very little work involved. Some parents are just like, I'm home, but it's in the industry, it would be called like more of a mother's helper. It's just like a second person that's there to jump in sometimes. But what I want to remind you is this is this woman's living wage. So whatever this woman or man needs to live comfortably and not be stressed out when they come to your home, that's probably the salary that would be best for them, because you don't want a nanny that's coming to your house stressed out because she's making $12 an hour, $15 an hour, living in the middle of San Francisco or living in the middle of Portland. She can barely afford her rent, and now she's supposed to give your children impeccable care, but she's worried about whether or not she can feed herself after work.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Just keeping people happy, or at least paying what they deserve.
mm-hmm.
Okay, no less than $20. Okay. Awesome. Did you ever have an experience where you just said in the industry it's called mother's help? Did you ever have an experience where they had you or hired you to do the baby, but then they asked you to do chores and you're like, nope. I know you do set very strong boundaries, but still, did you have ever an experience?
I won't clean the house. I'm not a good housekeeper. My house isn't like, if I have to clean my house isn't clean. It's not what my brain is good at. It's not, I have ADHD. I don't enjoy it. I have had families that their previous nanny cleaned the house all the time. And so they just assumed that I would do that. And I was like, no, 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 no. When I came here, your 2-year-old was not speaking
Yep.
because your nanny spent all of her time cleaning the house. 2 weeks after I got here, your 2-year-old is speaking. So
Yep.
your house might be dirty, but your kids are progressing. So I have set a boundary around, I'm not a housekeeper. Not because I don't want to help you out, but it's a waste of your money if you expect me to clean your house, because I'm not going to do a good job at it.
So, Amy, I have a question again. If
Okay.
people who want to reach out to you to get, you do parenting coaching, right? I'm putting my child in a box when she actually can be enjoying the whole room.
Mhm.
So if people have to reach out to you to see if they could work with you or have a consultation, how does it work? How do you want them to contact you?
Well, my website is up, but it's getting ready to be revamped next year, so it will be much more user friendly after the first of the year. But my website is wedon'tsaycan't.com, because when I work with kids, that's one of the phrases. Any kid that's ever worked with me knows that we don't say can't. We say I need practice or I need help, but that's something we can talk about on another episode. You can reach me at coachamy@wedon'tsaycan't.com. That's my email address. Or if you want me to answer you like now, if you're type A and you cannot wait, I am pretty active on Instagram. My Instagram is at Big Picture Parenting. So if you follow me on Big Picture Parenting, if you don't follow me, your message is going to go into my request folder and I might not see it. It's not like shameless plug to follow me on Instagram. That's just a warning that if you're not following me, I might not directly get your message. And I do 1 hour parent coaching sessions that are very handheld. Like, you tell me what's wrong, I tell you exactly how to work on it. I send you an email with all of the things that I told you, because as soon as you hang up the phone, you're going to forget because you're a mom and you have a gajillion things going on. And then you have direct access to me via text message. In the middle, when stuff hits the fan, you say, this is what's happening. And I say this. And then you're like, okay, I said this. Now what? Now put the plate here. Like, tell you exactly how to walk through a situation, because it's very important in those types of sessions that I get to know you, your husband, your children, like your dynamic and the personalities of your family, so I can give you exact examples of what will work with your kids and their personalities. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, to wrap this up, I would say the few things today we learned is during the chaos
Mm-hmm.
season, how you can keep yourself sane mentally is to say no,
Uh-huh.
set boundaries, and don't focus too much about buying a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Experiences are more focused.
Yeah. That would
Did
be
I miss
my best
anything?
suggestions. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, I want to say thank you, Amy, for coming in, and we are definitely going to come in with another episode talking more about parenting. So, thank you.
Wonderful. Sounds good. It was wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Of course.